Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's been a long time since I sat down and filmed a YouTube video. This is my first book video on this channel and I'm actually so super excited because 2023 was the year that I got into reading. And oh my god, I think, not to be dramatic, but I think it kind of changed my life. So here are the books that I've read in 2023 and what I thought about them. My goal for 2023 was to read 20 books. You know, that I'd take it sort of easy but still quite a lot for me because I've never really got into reading before. So I thought I'd give myself kind of like a manageable challenge. I read 16 books this year and that's because at the end of this year I started reading a book that put me in such a slump. I'm gonna tell you which one it is. I still haven't finished it. I've been reading it for a month and a half. So that's all I'm gonna say. 2023 being the year that I got into reading, it's only fair to mention the series and the book that got me into reading. Yeah, I belong in this category of people. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas is what got me into reading at the end of 2022. It's been a journey and I was like, I'm not gonna read the entire series, like it's way too big, but we're not gonna count this one because it's back in 2022, but I did give it 5 stars because in my head it's a 5-star read. We started the year off strong with A Court of Mist and Fury, which is the second one in the series. I love this book. I flew through this book. This book gave me like the feelings. It's the only book that I've read and cried so far. I did cry at the end. And I gave it a 5 stars and I recommend it to everyone with my whole heart. My sister is currently reading this series and I just recommend it to everybody because I feel like everybody deserves to read such a good romantasy. It is a romantasy series, if I've not mentioned that, and if you don't know, which I'm sure you do know. It is a world building of fantasy with a lot of romance in it, and it's a found family. Oh, this found family in this book, it feels like home. Like, if you read the series, you know. Next, we have the third one in the series, A Court of Wings and Reuben. This is a little bit more political. There's not so much romance in it. It's more of like a war and more of the politics of the world in this series. And it is really, really big. And it did take me a little bit longer to read and finish. I think it took me like a little over a month, because I did get a little bit bored at some points because it's a little big and more political. But the things that happen in this book and the tea in this book, unmatched. 5 stars. Then we have the novella of the series, which is like a little Christmas cute story, and believe me, I know a lot of people don't like this, but after the emotions that this book put me through, it was only necessary to have something like this to make me feel a little bit more at ease, a little bit more home, a little bit back with the family again. So there we have. This is A Court of Frost and Starlight. It's very, very small because obviously it is a novella, but I loved it. I don't care what people say. I gave it 5 stars because it is exactly what I needed after A Court of Wings and Reuben. So I do recommend reading it. The last book in the series, Horde of Silver Flames. This book has to do with someone else's POV in the story, which I did not think I was gonna like, but it turns out to be my second favorite in the series, and I did give it 5 stars. And although it being the biggest book I've ever read to this day, I flew through this book and I loved every second of it. Did not get bored. Loved it. So I get 5 stars. Overall, this series is a definite 6-star for me, and I will forever and ever love this series. It will always hold a special place in my heart due to it being the first series that I got into, the first fan family in a book for me. So enough about this. Then I needed a little bit of a palate cleanser and I thought I'd go with a little bit of more of a romance read. Ooh. So I picked up Twisted Love by Anna Huang. A lot of controversial opinions for this specific book. I personally gave it a 3 stars. Did I? I think it was a 3 or a 2. But I did give it a 2 stars. What was my explanation for it? No explanation. I did really enjoy this book. It was very predictable and very weird at some parts. I was like, what the hell is going on? This is really toxic. But not like the kind of toxic you'd like in a book, if that even makes sense. Very predictable. But I did really like the story. Like, I felt like it was very easy to read and very easy to get into, and I did really like the story, so I'm not gonna lie. So I did not mind it, but it was not groundbreaking, hence, and that is the reason that I've not read any of the rest Twisted books in the series. So no. Is my Tamagotchi dying? My Tamagotchi just died. I've only had it for 2 days. I don't know what I did wrong. You were happy and fed. Gone. I hadn't even named it, so I guess that's okay. Next, I read Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. I have not read the fine print or final offer, which is the first and third book in the series, and I don't know why. I don't know why. I think because this had an arranged marriage trope and there were like interconnected standalones, I kind of thought it would be okay to read just this. But I think I kind of want to read the first and the third one now. I do have the third one in my TBR, not the first one though. But I did really enjoy it. Like, I flew through this book. It was so easy to read. And I loved Iris and Declan. And I gave it a 4 stars because it was such an easy read. It was very enjoyable. The only thing I did not like was the ending. Like, it was too predictable. Like, we don't need a pregnancy trope in every single romance book, which seems to be the case with a lot of romance books. Like, why do you need a pregnancy trope in every book? Was that a spoiler? No, because they do kind of mention it quite a few times in the book, so you kind of like predict it will happen. So no, it's not a spoiler. But I did give it 4 stars. I do have the dates in all of the books and the date I read them. Yeah. Next we have Daisy Jones and the Six. I completely went blind on this. I only knew that it was about a band in the 70s, but the story was so enjoyable and I did fly through this as well. It's like an interview style book, so it's kind of like, it's not a romance, it's not fantasy obviously. It's more like a literature, what is it called? Literature fiction? I'm not really sure. This is my first Taylor Jenkins Reid book. I've not read Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I know. I've only picked it up and read up to page 40 and I was like, I don't think I can do this. So I DNF'd it. I really liked this book. I really enjoyed it, although I'm not gonna lie, I did enjoy the series a lot more, which not many people say about a book in a series, but I love the series and I love the cast. It's exactly how I imagined it to be, and the reason that I like the series better is because we could actually hear the songs, because in here they say like they write the songs and like obviously it's a band, so a lot of it has to do with songs, but with the fact that we got to hear them in the series made it so much better. And I did rewatch the series, which says a lot. I really loved it. I loved it. And I did get the album as well. Aurora is still unopened, by the way. I don't know why I got it, but I did. Did I say that I gave this 4 stars? I don't know. Anyway, I gave this 4 stars because it's not really my reading style, but I really like the story. Next, we have Papy Place by Emily Henry. This is my first Emily Henry read, and I do kind of regret it because it has been recommended to read it in publishing order, and this is the last that came out, so I don't think I made the right choice there. But I literally read this book in 2 days, and I never do that. I don't know. I just kind of like flew through this book, but I did give it 3 stars, and then I changed it to 2 stars. Do not ask me why. I feel like the book did not really have any plot besides the huge miscommunication trope, which I was like, oh my god, you guys just finally like just talk and sort it out. They would just really piss me off. But the only thing I liked was her writing style, the fact that I just read it so fast. So I do have Beach Read and Book Lovers in my TBR, and I'm actually really excited to read them and give her a second chance. But Happy Place, it was not really my cup of tea, but the cover's okay. So then we have Magnolia Park by Jessa Hastings and Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings again. This is from the Magnolia Parks universe. We currently have 4 books out. 2 of them are from Magnolia's and BJ's POV, and 2 of them are from Daisy's, Julian's, and Christian's POV. The first book obviously is Magnolia and BJ. It's a very toxic kind of like Gossip Girl meets London high society vibes, and I'm here for it. Like, I loved it. I did give this book 4 out of 5 stars. It was not a 5-star read for me because it was quite slow at some points. I was like, oh my god, you guys gonna like figure it out already. The book has so much tea, it's crazy, and I love it. It is very toxic, so I do get why it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I loved it. And I really miss the characters because I read this back in July. I read this both back in July, and I've not picked them up since. I've not read the 3rd or the 4th book. So I did give this one 4 out of 5 stars. The vibe and the scenery that Jessa sets in this series, I feel like I'm living that high socialite life. And who doesn't want that? I gave Daisy Hates 4 out of 5 stars as well, because again, it did feel a bit slow at some points. Personally for me, I feel like there was a lot of repetitiveness, but the end left me heartbroken in both books. So I'm just really excited to dive back into this universe in 2024. The next book I read is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. This is my first Ali Hazelwood read. I get why people love this book so much. For me, I was kind of like, I did really like it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And I did really like Elsie's character development and some moments that she had with Jack. So good. But a little bit of a spoiler here, so if you've not read it, skip this. The only reason I gave it 4 out of 5 stars is that the moment they had, you know, it was horrible. It gave me secondhand embarrassment. And I do not want it from this book. Like, it gave me secondhand embarrassment. It made me really uncomfortable. And I wished for it to be over. I did not like this part at all. Probably hated it. But other than that, the rest of the book was really good. So that's why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. But I do not wish to think of that scene ever again. So, right, this is the book. Remember, I just love reading so much. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Yes, I'm one of those people that just cherish this book with my entire heart, and I will do forever. I flew through this book. This book gave me so many emotions. The character development, the banner, everything in this book just made me kick my foot in the air and just like, Cadence and Violet's story is one of my favorites. Like, I love this book so much. If I could give it 10 stars, I would, because it was that good. Like, I was counting down the minutes that I would go back home and read the book. 5 out of 5 stars. Of course, it is the perfect romantasy for me. It is really easy to get into, so if you've not read any fantasy, this is a really good one to start with. There is a reason everybody loves it. The next series, I think about it quite a lot. I don't know why I read this, but I did, and I really liked it. If someone asked me what the series is about, I would say I don't know, because I really don't know. So we have Flock and Exodus by Kate Stewart. I completely went blindly on this. I believed that it was fantasy for a little while, but it's not fantasy. A Robin Hood kind of like inspired story, but it's real life, it's not fantasy. I think about this series on the daily. Almost. But if you read this book, you know what I'm talking about. I gave this specific one 4 out of 5 stars because it did seem quite weird at some points, but not like bad weird, you know, not necessarily bad. I'm a Dominic girl through and through. Don't care what anybody says. But 4 out of 5, loved it. And then I really wanted to know what happens next, so I picked up Exodus. And I cursed the day that I picked this one up. The emotional damage this book just caused me, I'm gonna need a refund. Kate Stewart, whatever you did in the middle of this book, I will never forgive you. I don't think it was necessary. I think you could have done it in another way, like, but it was not necessary. But you did it anyway. But it traumatized me. And I really thought they were, you know, gonna, but no, we have a third person coming in this book to change everything, and I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I love the story, but it made me really sad. But I thought kind of like the story was over with this book. This is why I have not picked up The Finish Line yet. It's been sitting on my TBR, and I'm kind of scared to read it, because if this book has a pregnancy trope in it, I'm gonna throw it in the bin. Yeah, I am gonna read it. Next, I thought I would go back into fantasy, and I was like, it's time. It's time for Throne of Glass. This is Sarah J Maas's first series, but everybody reads it after A Court of Thorns and Roses for some reason, or most of the people I see on TikTok anyway. This is an 8-book series. This is a commitment right here. Not gonna lie, this book was really slow for me because I don't know, I get that it's the world building and like you need to like paint the picture and just like, I know the series gets so much better, but this was a very slow book for me. Although it's not even that big, it felt very slow. And I did give it a 4 out of 5 stars because that's the lowest I can go on Sarah J Maas, because she is my queen and I will never give her anything less than 4 stars. I just won't. I do have the rest of the series here, not all of it though, but up to Queen of Shadows, and I do have different covers. Like, these are the old covers and this is the new ones, so it kind of drives me a little bit crazy, and I do kind of want to get all the matching covers. Is it a waste of money? Yes it is, but if you're a book girly, you understand. And after that, I did really needed a palette cleanser. Like, I wanted an easy read, fluffy romance that it will just like make me kick my feet, and I found it. My Dark Romeo by Parker S. Huntington and Alice J. Shen. This book lives in my head rent-free. It's probably the only standalone romance book that I gave 5 whole stars. It is a little bit too big, like it's almost 500 pages, and for a romance book I'm thinking that's a little too many pages, but I loved every bit of it. I would not take anything out of this book. Loved it. Romeo and Dallas, love them. I love them so much. It's a very controversial book, and I get it. I see all the toxic traits in this book, I see all the flaws, but I chose to ignore it because it just took me on a journey and I loved it. I don't know what this says about me, but I loved it. It is an arranged marriage, enemies to lovers, forced proximity, living under the same roof kind of trope. So if that's your cup of tea, the next 2 books gonna hurt my soul a little bit. We have Diary of Blood by Ashley Gibson. So I started reading this beginning of November, kind of like went halfway through, and then Iron Flame came out, which is the second in the Fourth Wing series. This was November. Specifically, I started reading this November 15. It's currently December 24. This book has put me in such a reading slump. I don't know why, because Fourth Wing, the first one in the series, like I flew through it. It did not even take me a week to read. I loved every bit of it. This one, I think it's because it's a little bit more political, a little bit more like, I don't know how to explain it. It just takes me ages to read. Like I will pick it up and I will read a few pages and I'm like, oh my god, I'm bored. Although it's not as boring, but I'm like, it did not give what the first book did. It's kind of like a snooze fest in here, like what is going on. But I try not to say any spoilers, but I did see a lot of people saying that it gets a lot better at the end. But it's a pretty big damn book. I'm currently on page 370, chapter 40, which we're getting there. We are getting there. But I feel like this book took a lot longer than it should have. 2023 was the year of reading for me, and I loved every second of it. And I'm just so proud of myself that I read 16 books, from going from 0 to 16 in a pretty busy year. I'm gonna take it. Leave your top rates in the comments. I would love to know what your top rates of 2023 were. I really enjoyed filming this, I'm not gonna lie. And also follow my book dog. I do have a book dog and I will link it down below. So love you all.